Hello noble ones and welcome to Metatron's Academy. Today I found another video that I think could be a fantastic tool for us to be able to dive into the world of linguistics, pronunciation and sound analysis. So what we have here is this video, which is from the channel Life in the 1800s. You'll find a link in the description if you want to check them out and subscribe. The title of the video is Two Civil War Veterans Talking About Fighting in the Civil War, and then enhanced video blah blah blah. Now, what we're going to do, this is just 2 minutes, but believe me, there is so much to say. Already in this series, I have several videos, you'll find links in the description. We have used recordings of people from the 19th century in order to analyze their speech patterns, their pronunciation, the characteristics of their pronunciation, their word usage, sometimes syntax. But today we're going to look at two different aspects. One, we're going to dive into the concept of cadence, and two, we will discuss a very interesting thing, namely the way sometimes our profession influences the way we speak. I want to let them talk uninterrupted for the first 2 minutes, so if you want to get to my commentary directly you can skip it, otherwise enjoy the immersion.
In 1861, I enlisted in the War of the Rebellion at Warsaw in Benton County, Missouri, under Colonel O'Kane, then a captain. We went to Coal Camp, fought the Dutch, and cleaned them out completely. Lost only 7 of our men with more than 250 of the Dutch killed. No prisoners taken on either side. From there, we went to Springfield, Missouri, where we had the Battle of Wilson Creek, where General Lyon was killed on the 10th of August. The bravest man I ever saw was General Lyon, after he was completely surrounded and pulled off his horse. He picked up rocks and fought with thousands of men around him. He struck Will Morgan in the face with a rock, and John Morgan shot him with an old-fashioned horse pistol, killing him. How old are you? I'm 94. 94, pretty good age for a young man. Yes. Now you ask me how old I am. How old are you? 84. 84. You was in the same war. Same general. I'm the same general, General Price. That's good. Fine old man, too. Good man. Good man he was, yes he was, and we was there to stay. We didn't enlist for a month or a year, but we enlisted for the war. As long as we lived or as long as the war lasted. That's right. Having a good time here today? Fine, we're having a good time. Enjoying ourselves very much. Had a good dinner too.
You know, I understand that the music does provide a certain level of immersion, but then again, it's a little loud. I would have preferred this video without the music so that we could focus on the way they speak. But anyways, it's still perfectly intelligible, so not a big deal, just a little nitpick. Okay. So we have a lot of things to review. So of course, as it's explained here, these are two Civil War veterans. One is 92 and the other one is 82. I've got to say, I mean, they both look great for their age. 92, he looks sharp as a freaking knife. Isn't it interesting to think that these men, they're not really that far away from us, and yet, particularly him, the one on the left, would have been an adult in the 1850s. And also, they have an age that basically allowed them to fight a war with old school pistols, horses, and sabers. But at the same time, they also saw First World War with like gas, bombs, airplanes. That's insane if you think about it. It really makes you look at things in a different perspective. Regardless, okay, so we're gonna start it again, but this time I will interrupt often to provide a commentary of a linguistic nature. Let's go. All right, so this was recorded in 1929.
In 1861, I enlisted in the War of the Rebellion at Warsaw in Benton County, Missouri, under Colonel O'Kane, then a captain.
Of course, the way he speaks is very old school sounding to us, not only because this was recorded in the late 1920s, so that already makes it old fashioned, probably even if we heard a youngster. But then again, do remember that the way he speaks, because he's from the 19th century, right? This guy enlisted in the 60s from his point of view, meaning 1860s. So the way he speaks would have sounded old-fashioned to someone in the 1920s. So what we are witnessing here, even though the recording is from the early 1900s, well, should I say specifically 1920s? Of course, but this is an older sounding man. The other thing that I want to say is that, as we said, he enlisted. These are military men. And this is really the first thing that I would like for you to focus your attention on. Oftentimes when we look at recordings like this, we focus on the fact that they sound old school and different from us because they are from a long time ago. But the reality is that that's not the complete picture. The way military men often speak is in fact recognizable because it reflects their job with a blend of discipline, training, shared culture, and also sometimes unique jargon of the armed forces. One thing we need to remember is that military people, particularly veterans, even after they end their war efforts or in general their military career, they retain a certain speech pattern. This would have been the case even going all the way back to freaking ancient Rome. The reason is that military communication emphasizes clarity in speech. Orders are delivered in short, direct sentences with little room for ambiguity, and this style often carries over into casual speech, where ex-service members often sound blunt, to the point, less prone to filler words. So let's see if that checks out. Did they even use a single filler word? Let's see. Non-existent.
We went to Coal Cap, fought the Dutch, and cleaned them out completely.
See, this is so concise, to the point, gives the most important information first, adding secondary details at the end. This is something the military people even today do, and sometimes they don't even realize they do. It comes naturally to them, whereas oftentimes like a news reporter or sometimes a teacher has to be trained or has to learn how to do it. Military people tend, and sometimes even people who practice martial arts tend to have a similar speech pattern. Also, I would like to underline in this case historically, I know he mentions Dutch. I'm not sure if maybe that's Germans actually, like German Americans, because to be honest, Dutch during the Civil War, you'll have to tell me that. It's outside of my area of expertise, but I do believe sometimes in this period, some men, like when you hear the word Dutch, it could mean Deutsch. It's just getting a little confused. Maybe, or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. You'll tell me that. Take that with a pinch of salt. Let's continue.
Lost only 7 of our men with more than 250 of the Dutch killed. No prisoners taken on either side. From there, we went to Springfield, Missouri, where we had the Battle of Wilson Creek, where General Lyon was killed on the 10th of August. The bravest man I ever saw was General Lyon, after he was completely surrounded and pulled off his horse. He picked up rocks and fought with thousands of men around him. He struck Will Morgan in the...
Again, this man is 82. He's a veteran. Who knows what kind of trauma he may have experienced, still very composed. And note how his mind works excellently, even to the point not only remembering minute details of the event, but the names of the people who struck and were at that moment struggling against General Lyon, as he explains it. Another thing I'm noticing again in his speech pattern is a certain rhythm. We'll talk more about cadence specifically, but in this case what we see, it probably is a remnant of drill instruction, commands, call and response exercises, which create this distinctive rhythm that we can perceive even if you can't pinpoint it. Once again, we could say that the delivery of the information is distinctive, steady, measured, authoritative, with an authoritative projection.
Face of the rock, and John Morgan shot him with an old-fashioned horse pistol. Kill him. How old are you? I'm 94. 94, pretty good age for a young man.
Humor is one thing that I think we will find no matter how far back we go. We know that there was interesting humor in the Middle Ages. We have a lot of funny stories and comedies. Sometimes they get a little sexual, in fact quite a bit sexual, and sometimes when we think of the medieval period, we always think of this Puritan image, which sure, I mean, you wouldn't make a sexual joke with a double entendre in front of the bishop at the cathedral in Rome, but what you would do is that if you are in a tavern or regular people or maybe even people are writing literary works, they absolutely do. So there is that. Anyways, even when you go all the way back to ancient Rome, we know that they made jokes and they had that kind of humor. My guess is that even Stone Age people did this. This is something that probably developed very, very early on.
So how old are you? 84. 84. You was in the same war. Same general. I'm the same general, General Price. That's good. Fine old man, too.
All right, let's talk about this. Look how they speak about the general, and then immediately they go, fine old man too, good man. That's what they say. This is another thing that we can connect to ancient time. I also kind of like his face. It's really cool with these glasses and this mustache. Like, this guy has seen some stuff. This guy has seen actual action. Like, my life is so easy compared to his, and I'm glad for it, but still. This is something that we can connect all the way back to the classics. The relationship between ancient Roman legionaries, for instance, and their general, usually referred to as legatus, when acting as a legion's commander, was one of the most crucial bonds in Roman military life. It combined elements of discipline, loyalty, mutual dependence, and often personal devotion, as we see here. This is because the strength of the connection between all types of commanding officers all the way up specifically to the general plays a key role in both battlefield success and wider political structure, at least in the case of Rome. And as you probably know, oftentimes the men were in fact more loyal to their legatus, their general, than they were to the senatorial class, sometimes even the emperor, depending on who we are talking to. With the emperor, the situation is a little different because of other layers and factors like the divine nature, or sometimes the way emperors actually played their cards, when it comes to giving stuff to the men in that situation, particularly with the Praetorian class. But we don't really have, if you want to know more information, I have a history channel. I guess I'll put a link in the description. But for now, yes, this kind of bond that we see, this isn't politics. This is a lot deeper than that. It's the military bond that you have between regular men and their officers, but most importantly to the general, because their life depends on the decisions of the general. And oftentimes this creates a sort of respect that I think it's impossible to find at the same level in any other hierarchical structure, including our politicians, including our corporations and job relationships. If you are ex-military, if you're a veteran, please let me know. Do share your opinion on this. I only served a little bit in the Italian Navy because there was conscription when I was a young lad, but still nothing compared to people who actually went on a war like this.
Good man. Good man he was. Yes, he was. And we was there to stay. We didn't enlist for a month or a year, but we enlisted for the war.
So once again, they are reiterating the commitment in connection to the general.
As long as we lived, or as long as the war lasted. That's right. Having a good time here today? Fine, we're having a good time. Enjoying ourselves very much. Had a good dinner, too.
I actually, oh my gosh, this is when you really take your time to think about this, there are a lot of charming and endearing. War is horrible. I think I don't need to specify that, or maybe I guess I do. Of course, war is horrible. There are situations in which war need to happen. Maybe we'll have to discuss, particularly when it's defensive. But regardless, don't really want to go into that. But what I do want to say is no to the last thing he said. He said, we had a great dinner too. So this is, again, something that someone who has struggled will say. People who take everything for granted. My life is over if I don't have the latest iPhone. They will not be thankful or grateful for a dinner. They consider it an obvious thing. And I think a lot of us do this, some more than others. Look how this man instead is grateful for the dinner. He had a great dinner too, like it's a special thing. Isn't that great though? Like, I would not want to have any of the PTSD that probably he had experienced, of course. But at the same time, I think we can learn from this attitude towards small things that we just think they are owed to us. Of course, I had a great dinner. In fact, sometimes even if you did have a great dinner, you don't enjoy it because you don't really realize what you have compared to other people that don't. So that's one more thing. Last but not least, going back to the linguistic aspect of this, let me talk to you a little bit about the concept of cadence. Cadence is a word that is used in a lot of different fields: music, rhetoric, linguistics, but in the context of language and speech, it refers to the rhythmic flow. So we have rise and falls of sound, words, or sentences. It's less about grammar and more about the musicality of the language. There are lots of different possible definitions. Here we have a modulation or inflection of the voice. His measured cadences never convey the character's underlying passion. That's just an example here. But in general, we could describe it as the pattern of intonation, rhythm, and stress that gives spoken language its distinctive flow. This is one of the main things that we notice here. Of course, the pronunciation, we notice that it's not really rhotic for what I could notice. Up to a certain point, it may feel, if you listen to it carefully, but the way they pronounce some vowels and the way they sound in general, it might sound like they're clearly American, but they do share still some elements of speech that you would find in British accents, not that much, not as much as usually happens when you go further back, like a Victorian period. But in general, you can still tell there are some mixing. Also, as I was saying, the accent seems to be non-rhotic, and the vowel system is slightly different to the way we speak today. You can tell, but you can still find old people that sound like them. So what I wanted to focus instead was the military aspect of it, which we could notice is particularly emphasized through their cadence. Anyways, it was just a short little video that I wanted to share with you, and I can find more for sure, thanks of course to the channel as usual, and thank you to you for joining Metatrons Academy. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comments below. Bye.